So my name is Carla Weaver, and I'm the president of the Grand Prairie Oakhollow Sheffield Village PID Board. Welcome to the board meeting of Tuesday, January 12, 2021. In accordance with the Texas Governor's March 13, 2020 disaster declaration and subsequent suspension of certain Texas Open Meetings Act provisions, the meeting of the board is hereby called to order for a teleconference at 6:33 p.m. As this meeting is being held through teleconference, each speaker should announce their name before speaking each time they speak. The meeting follows a printed agenda that's available online and was posted according to the Open Meeting Act. We will begin with a roll call. Could each board member please say "here" when your name is called? Carla Weaver, I'm here. Raymond Montoya. Raymond Montoya. All right, we'll come back. Holden? Corey? Okay.
Wasn't
Reno?
clear when you said my name.
Joe, was that you? Did you just say you're here?
Yeah, this
I think
meeting
that was Corey saying that. Okay.
Okay, and Joseph said he was here as well. Julia Perez?
I'm here, thank you.
Thank you. Raul Liel?
Here.
And then Naomi Alanis. Joe, can you confirm that you have Naomi's proxy for tonight? Joseph?
Hello, I think I got kicked out.
Say one more time.
This is Raymond. I think I got kicked out. I just got back in.
Okay. So, Ray, you're confirming that you're here.
Yes.
Thank you. And then Joseph Morano, you said here, correct? Maybe I misunderstood, and maybe Joe.
This is Raul. Yeah, this is Raul. You may have thought that was Joseph. Sorry.
Okay, so Joe's not on the phone. So right now we've got Carla, Ray, Corey, Julia, and Raul. Does that sound correct?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
so let the record reflect that 5 members are present, and this satisfies the quorum requirement. In an effort to minimize disruptions, the following meeting guidelines will apply. Board members, staff, and citizens, please keep your phone on mute at all times unless speaking. City staff will present first on any agenda item if they have information to share. If a board member wishes to speak, please state your name, and once I call on you, clearly state your name every time at the beginning. After the board finishes their discussion, I'll ask for citizen comments. If a citizen wishes to speak, please state your name at the time, and I will call on you. Each member of the public will have 5 minutes to speak, with additional time allowed at my discretion. Once I call on you, clearly state your name every time at the beginning. For each vote, I will call on each board member, and that person will state their vote. An extended pause during voting will be provided to ensure all votes are recorded accurately. This meeting is being recorded and will later be posted to the Grand Prairie website. So let's start with agenda item number 2, the minutes of December 1st, 2020. Is there any discussion or questions from the board related to this item? Are there any citizens that would like to speak regarding the minutes, which are posted in the agenda packet? Hearing no discussion, I will now accept a motion in regard to item number 2. If you'd like to make a motion, please say your name. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Ray.
Second the motion. Julia Perez, second the motion.
Thank you, Julia. Is there any further discussion by board members? Hearing none, let's vote. When I call your name, please announce if you vote for or against the motion. Ray Montoya,
For the motion.
Corey Walden,
Approve the motion.
Joe Marino, did you join? I don't hear Joseph. Julia
For the motion?
and Raul Liel.
For the motion.
And I am also for the motion, so the motion passes by a vote of 5. All right. Our next item on the agenda is item number 3, PID management report on projects and contracts. So the first item is a proposal from Flock Security for PID security cameras. The current estimate is $24,750. And I believe that there is a presentation attached to the agenda. Is there someone with us tonight who will be presenting on this?
This is Lee. I believe somebody was on the line last time we met.
All right. So is there any questions from the board or any discussion on this item before we take action?
Yeah, this is Corey. May I be recognized?
Yes, Corey.
At least from looking at the presentation and trying to remember the discussion last week, it appears that this is a lease type agreement where we don't own the equipment, they own it, manage it, install it, keep it updated, and it's a renewable kind of lease service that we'd be paying, just under $25,000 a year for. Is that everyone else's understanding?
This is Raul. Yeah, that's my understanding. Was the $25,000 for 1 year, or that was for 3, or is that the 3-year? I think it was a 1 year, right?
From what I read, it's an annual expense. The 24.7 thousand.
Okay.
I think it's based on the diagram they provided. I'm not sure whether it's 7 or 9 cameras. I know that the city police department has already put one up by 360 on Claremont, and they have one at the intersection of Claremont and Greater Southwest. So some of those dots that I saw in the diagram, it appeared that they included those 2, but I don't remember what I think it was Alicia talked about last week. It may be that they assume that those are in place, but they're putting something else close to it, because in some spots you can see they have 2 cameras as though they're pointing in 2 different directions to catch license plate coming in and out of some of the main access roads. Am I reading the diagram right?
I agree, Corey. There are 9 dots, and then the cost estimate on page 16 also includes a quantity of 9, so I think you're reading that correctly.
Okay. I guess then one of my questions would be, why would they be putting a camera in 2 of the places that the city already has an install? And maybe we just need 7 as opposed to 11, because those are tracking activity. I think one would be at, the 2 locations that I said, they're both on Claremont, but they're at the intersection of Claremont and Greater Southwest, which is a major intersection. And then they're capturing things that would be coming off of the access road. And I'm not sure whether it goes all the way down to Magna Carta or not.
Corey, would you be interested in taking action for 7 cameras, or for 7 and for the 2 if there are existing locations to be relocated for a total of 9?
If we believe we need 7, I would say go ahead with that. I wouldn't see a need for redundancy if we already have something in place that the police department is strategically placed at key points in our community.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't put anyone else's stuff close to it, is what it amounts to.
All right, other
because
discussion?
I wouldn't think it would be necessary.
Okay. Any other
This is
questions?
Raul.
Lots of other board members.
Raul, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I same point as Corey. And one other thing, during the neighborhood watch meeting, Officer West, Jim West, also kind of pointed out that we had discussed these 9 cameras and that he thought that they were a bit much. So now I'm kind of wondering if, he thought, Officer West thought they were a bit much, that he mentioned on the neighborhood watch meeting while we're doing so many. But I think I'd be okay with the 7.
Yeah. He thought that I'm sorry, Raul, are you saying he thought that us putting 9 cameras in would be more than would be necessary?
Yeah,
I'm trying
so
to
in the meeting,
I'm trying to feel my way through it because I think that we want to add enough cameras that it accomplishes the goal that we're trying to fulfill here, and that may be reduce crime, make the policing more effective so that those things that do happen are resolved quicker, or we may have another goal as well.
yeah, so
And if it doesn't, even if it doesn't take 7 and 5 gets us there, then I say that we do what's really necessary, no more, no less.
yeah, this is Raul. I agree. I would think.
The Crime Watch Committee may have had a discussion of what they thought would be adequate with the police department.
This is Raul. Yeah, I thought that the police had some involvement in this decision, but I don't know. It made it sound like he thought that we had. I wasn't a member at the very beginning, so I don't know if this was a discussion that we said, hey, we want 9 cameras, or if it was the police involved with the board that decided this. My idea was that maybe it makes sense to have a camera going north on Great Southwest as you enter the neighborhood, and then south on Great Southwest. So you're pretty much covering anybody who comes in and out, and not necessarily requiring one at every entrance like Fairmont and like Channing and the other crossroads. Because unless the person identifies a color or a partial license plate, really not going to do any good, right? So you need that information, and then you're capturing everybody who's going into this area. And then the other entrances that come into the neighborhood. I know I don't remember the streets, but not on, there's other entrances.
On Magna, down by 360?
Yes.
Yeah. I could see placing and I agree with the way that Raul is thinking about it, is you put them on the entry perimeter points for the community. And that's going to catch everything coming and going. And that might be as effective as having them at doubling them up at intersections.
Mm-hmm.
That would decrease the number of cameras that we need. But it would also allow us to kind of see, is it going to be effective in accomplishing what we want? With less of a lease burden.
So this is Carla. If I can add to the discussion, we originally budgeted $50,000 for cameras.
Okay.
And so cost estimate is well under that. It's my understanding that there have been 2 presentations from someone with the Grand Prairie PD, and we asked them to work with the vendor to come up with a proposal that they thought made the most sense for our neighborhood. They're in my opinion, the experts on the best way and most efficient way to use these. At a minimum, I think, and I know nothing about the world of safety cameras, but I think the 246 on Great Southwest Parkway, making sure each of our 3 main entrances have them on each side seems important, plus the one that's already operating on 360 in Claremont. I'm not sure about the 2 in the middle, but I trust the experts. I think we're half under the budget we originally approved. I do think we would want to clarify if 2 that are on this chart are already 2 that we have, then we would only want to pay for 7 since the city had already has 2 in the budget. But I I would respect the officer and who've contracted with this company citywide to make the best recommendations, knowing that they had a much larger budget, but starting with what they think are the needs for the community.
If I can clarify something, there were a couple of meetings, but there are two actual different presentations that are going on. The initial presentation had to do with the cameras that the city now has installed, which were about $7,000 a pop. And that's how we got up to that $50,000. Later on in the process, maybe a couple of months later, this thing about flock came up at a presentation. And the police officer said that they were not endorsing this company. They had just discovered them. And part of the reason the numbers would come in well below that 50 is because two different kind of solutions are being talked about. The initial solution, if we went with 7 cameras with what the police department was putting in place, that would have brought us up to $49,000 at $7,000 a pop. But this is a lower cost solution, but it's doing something different. This probably isn't going to be our only security kind of initiative. So the idea of coming in under budget with one project when you may do 2 or 3, in my mind, makes sense. I just want to make sure that if we're selecting this particular thing, one, we understand what we're getting, because it's not the police department provided solution. And they were very specific about saying they weren't recommending it. But it was something that they had found out about, and they thought that it was a good solution. So they were passing it on to us to investigate. I can tell you from doing a little bit of research, I know that they're not only pitching a story to us, they're at least pitching one to Westchester, same presentation, and a couple of the other PIDs. So they're looking.
Let me
go ahead.
So I was at the meeting on 10/27 when the lieutenant spoke. I did not recall him saying this is not what the system that the police is using. Did he add more information on the 12/1 meeting? Which
I think if you go back and listen to the recording, you would find that there were 2 different solutions. And this was one that...
Can I clarify?
Okay.
Sorry, guys. Okay, so originally when we came up with the idea for cameras a while back, police officers, I want to say about a year ago, they told us about some other cameras. At the previous meeting, they said that those cameras that they recommended initially when we had a meeting at the airport cafe, they said they no longer recommend those cameras, and they said that they're not pushing us to use flock, but that they have used flock before and that they can't necessarily recommend it, but that they, and I quote, recommend it. And it's something that they'd be working with this company in order to kind of monitor. So my understanding was that it's not just flock, because I believe flock has to work with the Grand Prairie Police Department in order to monitor these things, because they're the police officers at the end of the day are the ones that are investigating the license plates whenever there's a crime. It's not going to be flock security catching the criminals. It's going to be the Grand Prairie Police Department. Second point is, if the police officers recommended that the cameras should be in specific locations, I think we should leave it to them and their expertise in regards to how many cameras. I understand what you're saying, Corey, about this may not be the only solution, and you're correct. We may have other cameras, but so far we haven't received any other presentations as far as surveillance cameras. These are more for license plate readers to catch criminals coming in and out of the neighborhood who may have committed crimes. That's the understanding that we received at the last meeting. The only thing we were waiting for this month is the city said that they'd had to figure out with the police department how many cameras and what the process is as far as setting them up.
This is Lee. Just to let you know, the police department does have a contract with Flock for cameras, so Flock is the company they're using.
They're using a different solution, Lee?
They're using Flock Safety.
as
Right.
an
So they're
equipment.
already familiar with this company.
I'm sorry?
Are they using them as the service piece of it, or the equipment and the service piece? Or and you may not even know the answer.
Let me check.
Raymond, are you sure the flags that are on that diagram are the locations that the police department has suggested and recommended? Because I wouldn't think that they would be putting things that were redundant with things that infrastructure they already have in place. So it may be that those were the recommendations of Flock and not necessarily the police department.
Right.
So I'm just questioning, are you sure those locations are the police department recommendations?
This is Lee again. On the Flock thing, the police department has at least 29 cameras with Flock. I'm looking at one of their contracts right now, and there may be more. There's more contracts. But yes, they are using the cameras.
Okay, this is Raymond. So let me just add a little bit more clarity. So I think the issue is last meeting when we spoke to the police department, I think it was between the police department and the city to figure out the process as far as pricing and how to install, what the process was for that. So we also have a different management company. So Lisa, the previous person that was working with us, is no longer with us. So at this meeting, what I had understood is that we would receive information on what the next step is for us to install the cameras. So I don't know if that meant someone from the police department should have been on this call to let us know what the next step is, or if someone from Flock. So we were just it was thrown up in the air last meeting because we were told that it was up to the city and the police department to figure out what the next step was. So we're kind of asking questions, but there's no representation from the police department or Flock Security as to what the next step is. So I think we need to contact someone of those two entities, possibly for the next meeting. This meeting, we really were supposed to find out what the next step was.
Yeah. I'm wondering now, I'm sorry, Ray. I'm wondering now, based on what Lee is saying, whether those two cameras that are currently in place are Flock infrastructure.
I'm pretty sure they are, Corey, because they have 29 cameras that they work with Flock. I think it's safe to assume that those are going to be Flock cameras as well.
This is Raul. So yes, Officer Jim West said those are Flock cameras, and those are the ones that the city installed. The ones that, if you're talking about the ones that are on Claremont.
Wow. Then the price point has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's a different solution. Because does anybody remember that $7,000 mark? I'm not just pulling that out of the air.
Corey, this is Carla. I was at the meeting at the airport, but I do remember the police chief at the time saying that as the city was investing in more, the price could change and that price needed to be confirmed. So it looks like the city's, from the 29 lease off in the first contract, there may be others, plus these additional ones. And if other neighborhoods are also investing, it looks like Grand Prairie is getting a better price for them as we go.
I hope that's the case. if that's the case, I'm all in with doing it, especially in light of the way Raul suggested. That may still end up being, 5 cameras.
This is
Raul. So how can we move? Sorry, go ahead, Raymond.
Go ahead, Raul. Go ahead.
This is Raul. So I was just going to ask: I know we've been trying to get this done. Is it possible to table this to the next month's meeting, just so that we can get just a little bit more clarification? I want to move forward with it, of course, but that's my question.
This is Carla, would we want to move forward with the 9-camera proposal contingent on clarification that the 2 additional cameras are not currently ones that are in place and operating by the city. If they are, they would be removed, and then the board would approve 7. Is there a way to do that? Is the difference between the 7 and the 9 the question right now?
This is Raymond. I think that's correct to say. I agree with Raul. I think we need to table this so that we can get a representative from Flock and the police department. They can confirm how many cameras would be productive, and then we can move on voting and setting up a date, signing the contract, and getting these cameras up. Because the thing is, I don't even think we have a representative of our management company on this phone call right now, let alone
we do.
the police department.
Has joined us this evening, but he would probably be unfamiliar with this topic at this time.
Absolutely, and that's why I agree with Raul. I think we need to table this for the next meeting.
Yeah, and I'd say put it as a high priority item. I'm ready to vote on it as long as we get clarity.
Yes.
Because if the police department incurs a cost with integrating and stuff, I guess my other question would be, those 2 cameras that are up now, I believe that the police department owns those. And it might make more sense to buy as opposed to lease. If the police department is so sold on it.
Okay, so this is Carla. I suggest table this item and then everyone email all of your questions on the camera item by the end of the month to the board. And we will make sure by our next board meeting, by the end of January, lease versus own, 7 versus 9, locations, internal versus external, doubling up on what's there, whatever they are, how they integrate with the city's maintaining them, whatever y'all want to ask. Let's get all of them by the end of the month to leave, or we'll put them in one big pile, and then we'll work to get somebody on the next call with this item with clarifications to all of those questions, and it can be our first item out of the gate. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Well, yes.
That sounds good to me. I would ask if the board would be willing to get those answers in or questions in within 7 days while a lot of this is fresh in our minds. At least that's what I'm going to aim for.
This is Raul.
I think within 7 days we could kind of script out what's on our minds now.
However y'all would like to do it. That's fine. We won't have a board meeting for another 30, 60 days, but if you want to do it while it's on your mind, you don't have to think about it later. That sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
This is Raymond. I agree, Corey. I think we'll do that and email that out as soon as possible. Madam President, I think we should move on to the next item.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. The second item under our PID management report and project contracts are landscape improvements and or maintenance. So at this point, George, I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and speak to the board. George Locus is on the call, and he is our Associate Principal Management Group of North Texas, who joined us for 2021. George, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and anything we might need to know. And as we go into some of these items, I'm not sure if you were given a report from our previous property manager. We leave some updates, but we want to kind of talk through the transition.
Yeah, so that'd be good. I'll just start with myself. That'd be pretty quick. My name is George Locus. I've been with PMG for a little more than a year. I have most of my properties that I manage right now are single family, but project management is something that I like to dig into. I've worked in jobs previously where that's a lot of the focus has been project management. So kind of what you guys were talking about, the discussion with the security cameras, this is the sort of thing that I kind of enjoy dealing with. There's really not much about me, honestly. I just want to be an asset to you guys. So for all the questions you guys have for the security camera project, anything else that goes on, I'm happy to, kind of take that off you guys' plates if you want me to go out and coordinate with, whoever needs to be answering you guys' questions on this.
Okay, great. George, did you get any sort of summary or report of status of project when you guys took over?
I have, when I found out that I was going to be taking on you guys just a few days ago, so I haven't had a chance to look over all the supplementary information yet. But I did look through this packet just from what you guys were talking about. So I need a few more days just to get solid and familiarized with everything. So that's why I just was kind of listening along as you guys were talking, so I could try to get a better understanding of the situation.
As a no, maybe, because this packet won't have much information about the items that we're moving forward. Lee, did you get, by any chance, kind of a summary of Lisa as the status of projects from good before the end of the year?
I have not received anything like that. I was just thinking, maybe you guys would like to schedule another meeting where you can do like a walk through the neighborhood to look at the stuff with George in person.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem doing that.
Okay, well, let's start going through this list, and then we'll see, Lee, some of these you may know, some of these we may have to dive into and kind of follow a paper trail to see if we can find the latest status. How does that sound? Okay, so landscaping improvements and or maintenance. Lee, as far as you know, our new landscape company is taken over for Brightview starting January 1st. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, I think it may be a future meeting, we wanted to get the landscaping company on the phone and just have a chat with the board about this coming year and plant materials and the vision and all of that. Board members, that's been part of previous conversations, correct?
Yes. This is Julia.
Correct. This is wrong.
That is correct.
Corey.
Lee, could we ask them to see if they're able to attend possibly our next board meeting?
Yes.
Great, that'd be wonderful. Do we know the status when I look at landscape improvements and or maintenance? The only thing that I'm aware of right now is the flower beds going in at the Sheffield Monument sign. I believe that was in December that was moving forward, and Brightview has that contract and was getting a permit from the city, I believe. Do we know where that's at in the process?
No, this is Lee. I can send the contact information over to George and let him follow up with them.
Okay, great. So George, just so you know, and you may want to get a copy of our last two board meetings from October and December, and then Lee sending you that contract. So Brightview Landscaping is installing a monument or a flower beds and irrigation at our Sheffield Village Monument down Claremont. So for the next board meeting, it would be great if we could have a update on the status of that project and the schedule and just how things are coming along.
Okay, yeah, I get an update.
Perfect. And actually, I guess that's part of C, landscape improvements or maintenance on flower beds or entry monuments. Are there any other items for landscaping or maintenance in the Parkway area that any board members would like to mention or discuss?
This is kind of related to it. Carla, do you think it would be reasonable to ask Goodman to provide a status list if it was Linda that was covering us during the last thing? Because that would have been, they were responsible for us until 10 days or so ago.
Yep.
And I would think that they would want an orderly transition and handing things off, but it may be necessary for us to just ask them to do it to facilitate it happening.
I think it's a fair request. I was hoping they would have sent Lee some sort of summary of projects. Lee, do you mind asking for that, or do you think that since they're no longer under contract, we might not get it from them?
Well, this is Lee. Actually, I think the standard procedure is for the previous management company to transfer all their documents over to the new management company. So they would
Okay.
be sending all that information over to George's company. And so I don't know where they are in that process, but maybe we could get George to follow up and see if they've actually transferred those documents. And I'll send George their contact information too.
Oh, let's have someone from the board make the call. If I can get the folks' number at Goodman, I'll make that call and make the request. Or Carla, you can do it as well. But I don't have an issue calling and graciously asking, letting them know that we expected it, and asking, is there anything we can do to facilitate that transition happening?
George, this is Carla. Do you recall receiving packets from Goodwin?
I'd have to talk to the transition manager about that. She'd probably have all that information.
Okay, so you're unaware right now. Okay. Okay. And I apologize. I want to go back up to item A, the security cameras. Were there any members of the public or citizens that wanted to speak on that item? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Any other items related to landscaping or maintenance or flower beds?
This is Raymond.
Go ahead, Raymond.
Yes, in regards to the landscaping company, on December 2nd, Lisa from the previous management company, she did send an email, and it's not a PDF or anything you can download. It looks like it's typed, and what it says is, so please see below SPSD on their entry plan, and it starts January 1st to January 30th, all the way into March 31st. So it goes over initial irrigation, no surveys, weed tolerance, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know if that was her final communication with Lisa and the new landscaping company, but we haven't received anything from the new landscaping company in regards to what their plan is, as we've been talking about. So yeah, I definitely recommend we speak with them at the next meeting, if they could attend that meeting, so we can go over what type of plants, whether drought tolerant or flower beds and so forth. So I just wanted to mention that email that she submitted there on December 2nd.
That's helpful. Everybody can refresh their memories. Yes, Corey.
I was just going to say, thank Ray for saying that. One thing that we might want to think about just as a board is establishing our own communication protocol. Are we going to have vendors contacting primarily George or Lee or you as the president? Or I don't know that we have a preferred way for vendors and the likes to communicate with us. And if so, I'm just in the dark, which is possible.
So
but that might be something that we... Go ahead.
Yeah. What we've done previously, this is Carla, is I'm fine with the more CCs the better, so that people are kept in the loop on things. So Lisa had been really good about, here's what we've received, from bids and that kind of thing. I actually think if people are included in that information, then it helps more people as we're developing the agenda. Make sure that we've got all the right items, and you're looking at things maybe not the first time the day of the meeting, but you're seeing them as they come in. So I do not want to be the only person that gets items. And then of course my policy is always to CC Lee on everything. But I really would like George to be sort of the voice of the PID to the various vendors. And then we work with George to send back questions or to get clarification or, get things organized as we start moving out on various projects. That's kind of my vision, but others may have another idea.
This is Raul. I agree with that.
This is Lee. To add to that, when you guys on the board receive those emails, that's for information, but remember not to have any online discussions about it. The board should only discuss things at a public posted meeting like this. Thanks.
Good reminder, Lee. Thank you.
This is Raymond. Yes, Thank you for that, Lee. Yes, I agreed too. That's the reason we went with this new management company. So the bulk of that should be George's responsibility. I'm sure that he's going to be great at that. Communication is key for sure. That way we can be prepared for every meeting. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, and the other good thing, this is Carla, is that as part of the proposal, we've asked for monthly updates to the board on the status of projects. So once we get that list going, and that's, I think will make our board meetings run a little smoother, is that if each month we're getting updates on so-and-so has started, we have X amount of bids on this, or, you know, and just kind of the timing of everything, I think that'll help keep us more organized, and will, that monthly progress report, if you will, I think will be a good communication tool for the entire board as well. And George, do y'all have a standard form that you can use for a monthly communication or progress report on projects or something like that?
Yeah, we have a standard reporting that we do, and probably I'll actually send it to you guys weekly, just so you can stay in the loop on things, just those weeks when we're not meeting with each other.
Okay, great. Any other items on landscaping or maintenance or flower beds at this time? Any other discussion from the board? Any discussion from anyone from the public or citizens that are on the call?
Yes,
right.
This is Rosalind. Hi, this is Rosalind DeHorne.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. I just have a question. Is there any way that the flower beds at the entrances that just have the red mulch can be changed to maybe the Mondo grass or something else in there that looks a lot better?
I think anything is possible. I think what we're going to ask the landscaping company to come to the meeting, our next board meeting, and talk through various options. But I think bringing up the mulch versus grass and how that would work would be a great topic.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other citizen comments or questions? All right, moving on to D, tree trimming. There's an estimate. Oh, Raymond, go ahead.
Sorry about that, Madam President. I just wanted to respond to Rosalind. I think that's great that you said that. And one of the ideas that I would like to pitch is, hopefully we can discuss this at the next meeting, is as far as those flower beds, the irrigation, I don't agree with it. There's a lot of erosion, and I don't think anything grows properly, because those flower beds are not really flower beds. It's like soil on top of soil. If maybe we could get some type of concrete wall, or some kind of, I don't know, bricks or something that encases the flower beds so that the soil stays inside, and perhaps we can have different type of drought-tolerant plants or flowers or cacti, or, you know, as you stated. So I think that's something we should consider, and that's something that we should also speak to with the landscaping company.
I think those are great points, Ray. I think similar to the security cameras, I can send an email out to the group for people to start developing their questions for the landscaping company that's going to join us next time, and we can collect all of those and try to send them to them ahead of time so that they can put together some ideas for us. Any other discussion on item C? All right, E is tree trimming. We have an estimate from Davies for $23,870, and we have what was sent to the board earlier today with some information from Lee from Davies' previous contract, and what they had charged the board. Let me look. I'm going to pull that up.
I don't think that was the previous contract.
2019 for 20.
And how much was it for?
$29,570.
Then somehow I opened up the wrong document. Okay. Go ahead. I apologize for the interruption. I'm muting myself.
Nope. So the question to the board for discussion is, we have a new management firm. This is a bid that was received as part of our previous management company. Do we want to, what's the date on it? Let me look really quick. This was from something in 2020. I can't really read the date on it, but do we want, or September, do we want to kind of start anew and ask George to go after new bids for tree trimmings within the neighborhoods and to raise the canopy in the spring, or do we want to discuss this item tonight? I personally believe we should just start anew with a whole new bid for proposals and bring those back to the next board meeting. But I want to open it up.
I agree.
Okay. Raul's on that page. Any other thoughts or discussion?
Yeah, this is Corey. I have some issues with this particular vendor. We've used them before, and the experience was not a favorable one. And to spend $30,000 with a vendor and not have them make an effort to address legitimate concerns that you raise makes them a vendor that I wouldn't want to work with going forward. And
all right.
So I would be in agreement with allowing George to rebid it out and see who we get.
Okay. Any other discussion?
If Linda is on the phone, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Corey. What were you saying?
I was just going to say, if Linda's on the phone, she's the one that had the interaction with them after the work was completed, and it wasn't satisfactory. She's the one that reached out and communicated to try to get redress, and they weren't willing to do anything. But I don't know if she's on the phone or not, and she could speak during the community comments.
Yeah, I do recall that there were several that were unhappy with Davy's previous work. Any other discussion from board members? I feel like we have 3 right now who are hoping that we can go back and get additional bids, probably not from Davies, for tree trimming on Great Southwest Parkway.
This is Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
Well, me personally, I didn't have an issue with Davy. I thought they did exceptional work. As far as the former previous board member, Linda, she did say that there were some issues. I'm not sure what those issues were exactly. But I am open to finding new bids. What I will say is that we have a little bit over or under 60 days before spring, so I think we can get those bids sooner than later so we can move forward on scheduling that.
Okay. Any other discussion from the board?
This is Raul.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the comment that Linda had told me was that they didn't thin out the trees. Her concern was that they wanted the trees thinned out, and they really just trimmed them and didn't thin them out to allow sunlight to come through and stuff like that. That's what I remember her telling me.
So George, when you go for an estimate for tree trimming, it's trimming the trees but also thinning them out. So hopefully whatever company, landscape company, understands that and can include some detail in their bid of what specifically they'll do for the trees on Great Southwest Parkway. The more descriptive they can be, the easier it will be for the board to make a choice.
Okay, I'll reach out to some people that I know, and if I have any questions about this, I'll kind of base it off the scope of work here on Davy's bid. But if there's any questions I have, I'll make sure I run those guys before I send it out.
Okay, great. And Lee emailed out some vendors the city's using for as well. You may want to just check with those guys as well as you're throwing.
I think I got that email about the
Different companies.
Yeah, arborists, arbor masters, PV tree services, these 5 or 6 names.
Yes.
Okay, I'll start with these, then we'll go from there.
Thank you so much. Are there any items for discussion from the public or any citizens that are on the call related to tree trimming? All right, hearing none, we are tabling tree trimming to come back at a future meeting with additional bids for discussion. The next item is lighting improvements or maintenance. Is there any discussion on this topic? I'm not aware of any items that are currently underway related to lighting. On G, we've got the cross street signals below, but nothing else necessarily in this area. Any board?
Yeah,
Just one question. This is Raul.
Raul, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I had a question because I think one of the lights over there off of Claremont on the Sheffield Village monument was out. I didn't know who was. How do we get that replaced? I'm not sure if it's still out, but it was out several times when I was out there or driving down Claremont. It's the one that they complain that. Yeah.
How do the monument lights get replaced? How does the maintenance on that work?
Do I buy a bulb and go and change it, or?
Oh, yeah, this is Lee.
No.
You know, if you want to, definitely you can buy the bulb and change it yourself, and you can send me the receipt and we can reimburse you, or alternatively, you can call an electrician.
Okay. I just didn't know if our management company handled that or who handled that, but I don't mind. I'll go out there and change it myself.
Thank you, Raul.
Raul, thank you for taking one to the meeting.
This is Raymond.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
We have a brand new management company. I think they can definitely take care of that. But if you want to, Raul, George, if you want to compile a list of maybe, I don't know, maintenance men or maintenance crews, or someone that could take care of things like that, that would be great.
So, actually, I was going to say, EMG has a kind of a general contractor handyman service. We send out to AOC, Associate on Call. So if you need to, I can have them go out there and replace it. And that kind of runs through us, but they're pretty quick and they're fairly cost efficient.
That would be great. George,
Okay.
Could you let us charge for that?
Could you say that again? The phone cut out.
Yes. Can you just send an email out to the board letting us know what they would charge for that?
Yeah, I'll get the pricing before I have them go out there for sure.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more discussion from the board on lighting improvements or maintenance? Any citizens or anyone from the public on the call that would like to discuss that item? All right. Next item is the arterials, the wrought iron street signs. Lee, would you have any idea of where this is at in the process? I think there was an additional component that was needed per city regulations and requirements, and Lisa was working to move forward with that with the current vendor or contractor. Have you heard anything about this?
Yeah, I mean, our street department was fine with them being changed out, and we have the quote, and we already have set up a PO for that. So anytime the contractor is ready to start, y'all can. And I just emailed a copy of that out to George, and I copied Carla on it.
Okay, so the question on this one will be, maybe it's in the information that was sent over or will be sent over, but we'll just need for the next board meeting a time frame on this and what the contractor's anticipated completion date is for updating all of the street signs. So George, just so you know, we are taking our 3 main thoroughfares that go east-west off Great Southwest Parkway, and we're updating all of the street signs to these black wrought iron posts, and many of them encompass stop signs. And so it's just to upgrade the look for the streets and the neighborhood as people are coming in the main roads.
Okay, just to clarify, you're not talking about a monument sign. You mean like the post that the actual street sign names are on?
Correct. The post, and it has
Okay.
like a finish top. Correct.
Okay. Got it.
Any discussion from the board on this? Any discussion from the citizens or anyone from the public that's on the call? All right, moving on. Cross-street signal upgrades. So these are potentially on our three main thoroughfares, Fairmont, Claremont, and I just went blank. What's the other?
Channing.
Channing, hello. And Channing, about seeing what we could do to make those the light up signs that are similar towards the entrance of the peninsula. Lee, I think you had emailed back in November the city streets department, and they said they needed some time to put together the feasibility of this and the pricing. Have you heard from them on where they're at with this project?
I have not heard anything since then, but I can follow up with them.
Okay, thank you very much.
We had another PID who did a project like this, and so I don't remember exactly how much the signs were. It seems like they were somewhere around $7,000 a piece, and the PID paid for it. As far as I remember.
Maybe we can bring this back to the next board meeting if the city's ready and can confirm that the electric or the poles themselves or what's needed to do the upgrades for the lights off Great Southwest Parkway, the street sign lights, the lighted street signs. Let me say that correctly. Any conversation or questions or comments from the board on this item?
This is Raul.
This is cool. Go ahead, Raul.
Go ahead.
That's cool. So would this also be including the lights that go down Claremont, or just Great Southwest?
I don't believe so. I think right now it's the three main entrances to Great Southwest that have the traffic signals on them.
I'm just bringing that up because I know some of the neighbors will say that we're not really taking care of, So anyway, I thought I'd point that out.
There's big overhead signs. There's one when you go out Lake Ridge Parkway towards I-20. There's a glowing street signs that are part of the city's main thoroughfare network. They don't, and usually they're part of where a traffic light sits. So internal to the neighborhood, it's not the right infrastructure to support them, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, it does. Sorry. Got it.
But that's good to clarify in case somebody brings it up. Any questions or comments on the cross-street signal upgrades?
This is Raymond.
This is Corey. Go ahead. Go, Raymond.
Thank you, sir. Raul, I agree with you, and I'm all for putting one of those illuminated street signs there. To my knowledge, the ones on Great Southwest were put there by the city. So I don't know if that would be an issue for making a request to the city or us purchasing our own street sign, intersection thing. But I hear where you're coming from, though. I just want to clarify, I want to say thank you, George, for being on the team and being here. And I know you got a lot of note-taking you're probably taking, and I'm pretty sure at the next meeting will be a little bit more updated as far as these projects, where we're at, and update. So.
Thanks, Ray. Corey, you had a comment on this item?
Yeah, I was just going to say if Lee's financials access would allow her to actually go and query the PID that she thinks might have done an install that the PID paid for, that would give us some preliminary cost data even before our next meeting.
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you, my lady.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Any comments or questions from any citizens or public or members from the public that are on the call? All right, then we'll move on to item H. And Lee, if you find that dollar amount, feel free to just jump in and let us know. Item H is wall assessment and phase plan for base repair. So this is something that I know that our previous management company did not get a chance to do. We had talked about on the previous calls that we were interested in getting a brick and stone masters to provide estimates for repairs and a rehab plan for the base structures of the wall. So we had replaced, I believe, 20 about a year ago, and there are others that need to be repaired. And we want to come up with sort of how many are there all together, how many do we need to do each year, what are the next 20, and then the next 20 after that, or whatever the number is, and come up with sort of a phased process so that each year we've got it in the budget and we're not pushing maintenance down the road, but we're handling it over time. George, are you familiar with something like this being done for other properties that your companies manage? Does this kind of make sense what we're looking for?
I think I have a general idea of what you're saying. You're basically saying you want to have sort of a roadmap for repairs and maintaining this big wall over time rather than having to wait for one big giant project that would, incur a giant cost.
I am saying that, but I'm specifically saying it's for the feet of the wall. There's where the bases are at. There's parts that are crumbling. And
Carla,
so
this is Raul.
Go ahead, Raul.
I was going to say that they're called mow strips, so it's the mow strip that runs along the bottom of the wall.
Lee, would you have the contract for I think it was like 10 or 20 mow strips that we repaired in 2019 or 2020? I think it was 2019.
I can look it up.
Okay, if you find that and provide it to George, I think it might be helpful. But we want a bid for somebody to come out and evaluate all of the mow strips of the wall and put together a phase plan for us. So I don't know if that's a structural here or what kind of company or firm does that. Hopefully, your firm may know some vendors.
Yeah, I have some vendors that have done brick and stonework for me before, and I can have them sort of get some competing plans and go out and assess the wall and see what the status is or see what the condition is.
Great. Any other discussion from the board on this item? All right, hearing none. Any comments or questions from anyone from the public on the call? All right, we will move on to item number 4, the financial update. Lee, any items that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, that's on the last page of your packet. And this is a budget to actual report. This is a preliminary report as of December 31st. So we started the year with $626,700, and assessments collected so far, plus other revenues, are $250,270, and total expenditures are $16,024, and the balance as of December 31st was $860,991. Do you have any questions?
None from me. Any items from the board? Questions, comments? All right. Hearing none. Any questions or comments from anyone from the public on the call? All right, we'll move on to item number 5, selection of officers. Has anybody had a New Year's resolution where they wanted to become the secretary or treasurer of the board?
I think Corey volunteered.
Corey was going to consider it at our October meeting. Corey, did you come to any revelations?
No. Oh no. I don't know that I'm up to it.
Okay, that's all right.
I thought Joseph was going to do it.
We nominate Joseph.
He's not here. He's not here, so that doesn't work. I will say this: I'll do the minutes and stuff for the next meeting, and see how that. I'll do the minutes for the next meeting and see how it feels, and if it works well and you guys are pleased with what I produce, then we'll probably make it official.
Okay.
I'm already pleased.
I haven't done it to me.
Really, they're going to be
I believe in you.
Yeah, I believe in you already, Corey. This is Julia.
I know that, boy.
Star two. All right. Any other conversation or discussion on the selection of officers? Any comments? Corey, you don't even have to campaign. It's an overwhelming unanimous vote. Any discussion from anyone from the public that's on the call?
Carla, just for the sake of the minutes, is Corey going to be the secretary?
Corey is going to consider it by taking notes for the next board meeting. And then we'll keep this item on the agenda for the next board meeting, and he'll let us know how it goes.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, pending the outcome of the next board meeting and my note taking. You guys are bad.
For the record, we've had a bit of a challenge finding a secretary treasurer, so it's kind of we keep kicking it down the road, but we're managing.
No problem.
All right, so item number 6, the 2021 board meeting schedule. How often are people thinking that we want to meet? Do we want to meet every other month? Do we, and then cancel a meeting if there are no items to discuss? Do we think that the next meeting needs to be early March? What's folks' general assessment or thoughts?
This is Corey. I was thinking every other month.
Okay. Other
This is
board members?
Raul. I was thinking it. Sorry, this is Raul. I was thinking every other month as well. I'd like to meet before the whole spring season for the flower beds and all that stuff. So.
All right. Julia and Ray, are you on same board or same page?
This is Julia. I agree. I would like to meet at the beginning of the month, definitely before the spring.
Okay. So let's look at
Ray.
calendar. Ray, go ahead.
Yes, I agree with everybody about every other month, but because we have George and he's new to the process, I think we should get him up to speed. But I'll leave that to you.
So would we want a meeting towards the end of February just to bring back all of these items, get an update on projects, kind of like clean slate it, and that gives George a month and a half to organize the various elements? Does that sound good, like February 23rd or February 16th or March 2nd, if we want to keep to Tuesdays?
March 2nd.
Here are March 2nd. That work for others? Lee, would that work for you?
Let me check.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was Corey.
This is Raul. March 2nd is good. So it works for me as well.
Okay.
March
Ray and
2nd works for Julia.
Okay.
And this is Lee. March 2nd works for me.
Okay, so let's plan our next meeting to be March 2nd. George, I hope that works for you.
Yes, March 2nd works fine for me.
Okay, perfect. And then why don't we go ahead and tentatively plan the rest? Could we do May 4th?
On March 2nd, where do you want to meet?
I think right now, well, let's discuss as a board. Do we want to keep on the phone or do we want to try to meet in person?
This is Raul.
Corey, may I ask a question? Go ahead, Raul.
So she was asking if we wanted to meet, continue to meet on the phone or in person. I was just going to say that these calls are kind of hard because of the phone connections and stuff. We can't share anything, any visuals, drawings, or whatever, because we can't use Zoom. So I would, depending on how things are going with, with the virus and stuff, I'd like to maybe start pushing and moving to meet in person. But either way is fine.
Okay.
I agree.
And several of our other PID boards have been meeting in person, and their favorite places are Spring Creek Barbecue and Outlaws Barbecue because they both have really big private dining rooms.
Oh,
Oh, gets better and better.
can we eat while we're there?
Yes.
Can we spend to the PID? What is the
We just need to
city's
make
view
sure
of
to
it?
include dinner on the agenda.
Epic Water should be put down the slides during the meeting.
I think the new secretary treasurer goes first.
This is Corey. I'm with Raul. I'd like to figure out a way where we can meet in person. I just think that it facilitates the flow of information. Like my phone, and it may be my phone, so I'll own it. But sometimes when Carla is speaking, I'm hearing every other word, or it's choppy.
I'm hearing the same thing.
Okay, then it's not just my phone. Lee, I know that last year there was one PID. It may have been the forum that had a meeting or two at the airport. Do you know whether that conference room is available? Because it would allow us to actually stream our meetings live. Or if they kind of close that down to the public.
The conference room is available, but we cannot do any streaming. We either meet in person or by phone. And the room's not, I don't know, typically we have a lot of attendees at the Oakhollow meetings, so we probably would just want to go with a larger meeting space.
Okay. I know it used to be that they would allow you to stream a meeting from there. Is that a change in policy?
The Open Meetings Act does not provide for that.
It does not provide, but does it prohibit?
We can't do that. We can't do
Because
that.
I know
We can't do
I
that
know
for
that
our
the
PID
city,
because it requires another employee to actually be there to run the technical side of it, and it's quite expensive. So like I said, our options as a PID are to either meet in person or just do a telephone meeting like we're having now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lee, you said that Spring Creek Barbecue, and what was the other barbecue place where PIDs are meeting?
Outlaws. It's on Beltline Road near 303, and in Spring Creek is on South Carrier, south of I-20.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's close.
This is Carla. I'm for trying to meet at Spring Creek. My first meeting of the PID was at Spring Creek, and in that back room, and it was a pretty nice setup. We can call ahead and let the restaurant know that we're coming and see if we can get some tables reserved. Would y'all like to?
Yeah, they have that little back room back there.
Yeah.
I'll work on setting that one, and just in case it's not available on March 2nd, I'll try Outlaws as a second choice.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Can we look at 2 or 3 more dates? So if we do March 2nd, can we also put May 4th on the calendar?
Works for me. It's Raul.
Works for me.
That works for me as well. That's consistent with Julia suggesting that we meet earlier in the month as well. So I don't mind making it that first or so Tuesday of each month, every other month. And if July would be one of our months, because the 4th might be close, depending on when it falls, that might be one where you would change it. But other than that, I would think that we would be able to do it, because even meeting in September, the holiday is before the Tuesday.
So if we move it back in July because of the 4th, that would be July 13th. And then September would be September 7th.
Oh, this is Lee. You might want to do one in August so that we can discuss the PID budget.
Okay. Why don't we do, instead of September 7th, could we do August? We probably shouldn't wait till August 31st. If we did August 24th, would that be good, Lee? Enough time to finalize the budget?
Maybe earlier, more like August 10th. Would that work?
Hold on.
Yes.
If we do August 10th, then I think instead of going down for July, we go up in June. So then we do June 29th.
Well, we could do July the 5th, right? No, that won't work. That'll be a holiday. Shoot.
Let's
Yeah, we
do
can go up in June.
June 29th, and then we can do August 10th.
Sounds good.
All right, so just to repeat, we've got March 2nd, May 4th, June 29th, and August 10th currently on the schedule. Do we want to go round it out and do a mid-October and then wrap it up for the year in October? Because November and December are just hard with holidays.
Yeah.
Like October.
No. What's the date in August again?
August is the 10th, which was requested to make sure we've got enough time to get the final budget in by August 31st.
Okay.
Can you repeat those dates once again?
Why not August the 3rd? That would be the first Tuesday.
Well, I think that might be a little too early because I have to have the tax roll data, and I don't think I'll have it ready by August 3rd.
Okay. Thank you much. Makes
So
sense.
right now the dates are March 2nd, May 4th, June 29th, August 10th, and then I penciled in October 13th.
Okay.
Excuse me, October 12th. I love getting the whole year on the calendar. I think that helps you plan around and plan accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Thank y'all for being open to that. All right, any other discussion on the board meeting schedule?
The 12th and not the 5th of October?
One more time, Corey, say that again.
I was just going to say, did you say the 12th and not the 5th of October?
The 12th, yes, sir. Give us a little more time since we pushed down the August date. Are there any comments from any citizens or anyone from the public on the call related to the schedule and the location?
I had a question for Lee.
Go ahead.
How soon after October 1, the beginning of the fiscal year, are all the financials and stuff approved by the city? I'm assuming by October 1, we would know what our forecasted budget and stuff are for the year, for the fiscal year, right?
Oh, yes, I can resend that information out to you.
Okay. No. I'm looking towards the end of this year.
Well, our budget year ended on September 30th. The budget year runs
Right.
from October 1st through September 30th. So our, if you're asking about our fiscal 21 budget, that was approved back in September.
No, I'm thinking about 22, FY 22.
Right. That's why in August, we're meeting in August to discuss the preparation of the budget, and then the council will be approving that at the second city council meeting in September.
Okay. I'm good.
All right. Now we are coming to the citizens comment, citizens forum. Citizens can speak during the citizen comments for up to 5 minutes on any item not on the agenda by stating their name and address when requested. Are there any citizens? Oh, go ahead, sir.
Yes, I apologize. Okay, so at the last meeting, I don't know if we discussed this, it's not like we did, but we approved Brightview for Claremont install meter and irrigation proposal. Did we get an update on that? And also we approved Bob Owens for the electricity upgrades or updates of $53,110 that was approved. That might be the question for Lee and George. Did we get any updates on those?
We did about the Brightview installation at the Sheffield Monument. There was no information currently, but one of the items that George was going to on. We did not talk about the electric. Lee, as far as you know, was that contract executed?
Oh, yeah, I believe we're in the process of signing that. Let me see. Yes, I've sent that to Bob Owens, and he's signing that.
Okay, so that's in Bob Owens' court for signature.
Huh?
All right, so Ray, we'll put that on the agenda to come back for an update next time.
Absolutely.
His schedule is. I remember Bob had some problems with the initial upgrades he did, and it took a little bit longer than we envisioned. So hopefully he'll be able to provide a schedule to George, and then we can update all the board members on when to expect that. Any other questions or comments from the board on any items in particular that were not discussed on the agenda? Well, let me go back real quick to see about citizens, and I'll open it up to the board. Any citizens or members of the public on the phone that would like to ask any questions or make any comments? All right, any additional items from board members or information or questions or any items that you would like to see come back to the agenda in March that have not been discussed? I don't hear any. I did want to mention Saturday, January 30th, there is the third annual Fish Creek Cleanup Challenge. So many of you take advantage of the trail that's here in the neighborhood, and there's a Facebook event that's been created on this. I'll share it to the PID Facebook page. And so if you're available, it starts early, but they're going to have supplies and materials. And last year it was a really great initiative to see your neighbors and get out there and clean up an area that I know that we all utilize and enjoy. So just FYI on that, it's 8 o'clock Saturday the 30th. Just a heads up.
Are they meeting by the bridge or any specific place along the trail?
Yeah, it says that they're meeting. Hold, please.
Okay.
They're meeting at Fish Creek Neighborhood Park, which is in the middle of the trail. They'll begin at 8, but feel free to join anytime afterwards until 1 o'clock.
Okay.
And then they're meeting at the park, the Fish Creek Neighborhood Park in the middle of the trail. There's going to be breakfast, lunch, and bags and gloves provided, and a limited number of trash picking up tools. I bought one of those little handheld things that pick up trash at the Dollar Tree a year or two ago, so I've got one of those already. But just FYI. Any other community items or, again, items that you would like to see added to the agenda for the next meeting?
I don't necessarily want this added to the agenda. This is Corey. Does anybody remember offhand when our storage unit contract comes back up? I think it was a 1-year deal, and I just don't remember when.
It was around January, February, which we discussed it, and then Joe paid for it and got reimbursed. So let me reach out, ask him about that, and see what he's planning to do for the next year, and we can bring that back to we can put that on the next month's agenda.
Thank you.
This is Lee. Earlier you had asked about the cost of those LED street signs. It looks
Yes,
like
ma'am.
when we bought those in the past, they had cost almost $4,000 a piece.
Okay. And can everybody picture what we're talking about on that?
Yes.
You want me to put that a picture so everyone can get a visual?
I've never seen them, so.
Okay. I'll send it out this week to the board so you guys can get a picture in your mind of what we're talking about.
They're like the lights
Paula.
you see when you're getting on 220, illuminated street sign.
Native streets.
All right. Are
Yeah,
there
it's
any
kind
other
of
items?
it's backlit.
Any other items? All
This is
right.
Raymond.
Raymond, go ahead.
Just real quick, I just want to say, George, welcome aboard. And do you have any questions for us? What can we do to assist you? I know that you're taking a lot of notes and there's a lot of things going on with the transition. What do you need from us so that you can be successful in getting these bids and getting these projects rolling? One of the reasons we switched management companies is because we had a lot of delays in getting projects done. So my fear in waiting to March for the next meeting is just, the timing between. So we really want these projects to get pushed forward. What can we do to help your job be more easier since you are the management company and taking the bulk of a lot of these things?
So the biggest thing that I need is, I'll have information just kind of get passed to me over the next few days as I get into you guys' documents. But just for the pending action items, as I'm working them, I'll keep you guys in the loop just so you know where I'm at. And if if you see that I'm missing something, or if there's some sort of feedback you guys want me to do to make it different, if you guys want to attend walkthroughs with vendors just for the so you guys can see things firsthand. Just as long as you guys are just as long as you guys are watching me and as long as I can get good feedback pretty quick, that'd be good. I want to get with the board president to talk about the cameras also, and I'm going to talk to our transition manager about all the stuff we have from Goodwin. And once I get all that information, I'll kind of put together what I have, and we can kind of go through it just to make sure I'm not missing anything. I do want to get a better understanding of these items before I go out and actually start doing bids and things. So I have my notes here, and once I get all that stuff together, we'll just sort of do a sanity check to make sure that I'm going off on the right path. Same with the landscaping and the other project. I will talk to the current landscaper about the tree trimming, just to make sure they're included. Just because if they're already out going on the property, they may be able to sort of roll it into the stuff we already have. And then once I get AOC a quote on the lights, and I get some brick and stone people to come out on the access wall, to come out to the wall, I'll make sure you guys are included. So really, as long as we're going back and forth, and as long as we are sort of all on the same page, and I know that we want to keep things in the public forum as much as possible in terms of actual decision making. But just for fact finding, as long as we're all working together, I think we'll be able to get a lot done pretty quick.
Great, sounds good, sir.
George, Carla, my phone number. So after you've reviewed, if you want to set up some time to go over projects or cases or anything like that, just send me an email and we'll schedule that.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. All right. Any final discussion? Thank you, everybody, for your time. We appreciate you being here tonight. With that, having no other items, I am adjourning our meeting at 8:01.